Okay, today we're going to continue with a review of the use of will. Let's remember, please, that we use will to talk about future situations. For example, here we have some situations that I will do in the future. Look, this is the present, and all of the events that happen here are going to happen in the future. So, for example, I could say, I will buy groceries here, then I will cook dinner here, I will wash the dishes here, I will take out the garbage here. So the idea is that you have different actions that you can predict for the future with will. Let's remember, please, that the structure of will is always will plus a verb in base form. Okay? And obviously, if it's negative, we say the negative version of will, the contraction with will or will not. So will not. But remember that will not can be contracted as won't. Okay, so that's what we have about will. Now, as you see here, I have a lot of events here. I have, for example, here, I will buy groceries, I will cook dinner, etc., etc. So I can organize these events in the future. For example, look at here, my timeline of events is happening here, and I am organizing the events in two ways. I am saying, well, first, I will buy groceries. Then, I will cook dinner, because that's the chronological order of these two events. First, I will buy groceries. Then, I will cook dinner. Now, there is something interesting here. When we use the words first, then, etc., etc., we are describing every sentence individually. But we can use other words to connect the two ideas into just one sentence. But there is a difference that you will see in a second. For example, I could use the words after or before. Look at the example here. After I buy groceries, I will cook dinner. So as you see here, after I buy groceries, I will cook dinner. The event with after changes. After I buy groceries, not after I will buy. So remember, when you have after, you have to use the simple forms. In this case, simple present. Okay, after works with the simple present. Okay, after, simple present. After I buy groceries, I will cook dinner. Ah, look, the second event is the same, it's just will. But you can also change the order of these two ideas, and you could also use the other way around. You could say, well, before I cook dinner, I will buy groceries. In this case, it's very similar to before. And it's very similar to before. But obviously the difference is in the... Obviously the difference here is in the way it is said. Okay, for example, here we have before I cook dinner. This is the second event. After I buy the groceries is the first event. Remember to only use one of the two. Either use after or before with a simple present in every case. But don't use the two things at the same time. Don't say after I buy the groceries, before I will cook the dinner. That's incorrect. Only use one of the two. And remember, the second part of the sentence is always going to be with will. After I buy the groceries, simple present, I will cook dinner. Future with will. So that's the way to use it. Don't forget, please, that you have to use a comma. When you start with the words before or after, you have to use a comma in the middle. Now, very similar to the way we use the conditional sentences, you can also do something similar here with after and before. We can also change the way it is. And I can say, after I buy the groceries, I will cook dinner. Or I could also say, I will cook dinner after I buy the groceries. So that's the way you can change the position of after from the beginning with a comma to the middle. Simple as that. The same thing with before. You could say, before I cook dinner, I will buy groceries. Or you could say, I will buy groceries before I cook dinner. The importance here is that you have to be careful with the order of the events. Okay, and you remember, you always need 2 events to order. If you only have 1 event, it's impossible to order it because you don't have another event to compare it with. So always have 2 events. Okay, always have 2 events. And remember, the rule still holds up. After I buy the groceries, I will cook dinner. I will cook dinner after I buy groceries. All the time, please, after with simple present. Before with simple present. And the other part of the sentence will stay in future. Simple. Let's check an example in context. My friends, Jenna and Carlos, and I will travel to the beach this weekend. Before we travel, we will buy tickets. At the beach, we will find a hotel after we arrive. We will go to the beach after we find a hotel. We will put sunscreen before we go to the beach. After we swim at the beach, we will have lunch. At night, we will change our clothes before we go dancing. The next day, we will probably swim in the ocean again. We will buy souvenirs before we return. It will be a great weekend. So as you see here, we have a lot of sentences describing my future trip with my friends. Let's check sentence by sentence. Before we travel, so before we do this event, we will buy the tickets. We will buy the tickets here. At the beach, we will find a hotel. So we will find a hotel after we arrive. After we arrive. First, we arrive and then we find a hotel. We will go to the beach after we find a hotel. The same idea. We will go to the beach. We will go to the beach after we find a hotel. First, we have to find a hotel. We will put sunscreen. We will put sunscreen before we go to the beach. After we swim at the beach, we will have lunch. At night, we will change our clothes before we go dancing. We will buy souvenirs before we return. So as you see, we have different events showing different moments. Here you can see all the text with the different colors. Remember please that all the time you have to have 2 actions per sentence. Okay? In this sentence I have 2 actions. We will buy souvenirs before we return. You have the 2 events all the time. And that's essentially the use of these sentences. Okay, let's remember. After I buy the groceries, I will cook dinner. Before I cook dinner, I will buy groceries. In both cases, I have 2 events, and I am organizing them according to what I want to say. You can use either after or before, but not both at the same time. And remember, with before or with after, you have to use the verb in simple form. Okay, never use other forms with before or after. Just simple forms. And that's it. Well, I hope you have done your homework and don't forget to study. Bye.